Hello and thank you for coming. My name is Janine and I've been asked to speak to you today about my experience of working in offshore detention, both on Manus Island and on Nauru. I am still very emotional about what I have experienced, so please excuse me, but I will try and get through this. 9 weeks ago, I left Nauru after resigning from my position as a caseworker in offshore detention for over 2 years. My time in this field allowed me to meet some amazing people and also open my eyes to what is really going on over there in our name. But it's also left me traumatized, ashamed and angry. Before this position, I had years of experience as a caseworker for families in crisis and had seen some pretty terrible situations. But nothing prepared me for the inhumanity of offshore detention. People always ask me, is it as bad as they say it is? And that's an easy question to answer. In many ways, it's much worse. I have no doubt that the full extent of the cruelty and inhumane treatment that I witnessed will be made public one day, and it will be yet another dark stain on Australia's human rights record for the rest of the world to see. I'm ashamed of my government and ashamed at the apathy and the not in my backyard attitude of some members of our society that have resulted in this policy being implemented and continued. I learned many things from my experience, but here are just a few of them. I learned that simple kindness to another human being is everything. I learned that we all want the same things for our loved ones, no matter where we come from or what God we pray to. I learned that when necessary, we have immense strength to endure almost anything that life throws at us, but that we all have a breaking point. For my friends on Nauru and Manus, sadly that breaking point came a long time ago. My initial experience of work in offshore detention was on Manus Island, working for a well-known multinational organisation skilled in infrastructure and logistics, which just about sums up what you need to know about the company's perspective on welfare and looking after the needs of traumatised and damaged individuals. Working in this environment was very difficult for those of us who came from a social work and advocacy background, but the compassion and understanding shown by my colleagues was inspirational. My next appointment was with a not-for-profit organisation on Nauru with a totally different attitude toward the work, and one which had respect and dignity for those we worked with at its core. And for me, working there felt like coming home. Under extreme circumstances, the staff there worked tirelessly with the most complex and critical cases on the island to assist them in any way they could. So what do we actually do there? On a daily basis, we're dealing with extreme situations: self-harm, hunger strikes, suicide attempts, children and adults with chronic and debilitating PTSD, and almost without exception, every client I worked with was experiencing utter despair and hopelessness. My colleagues and I work tirelessly every day to navigate the complex systems and rules that our clients have to deal with just to access their basic needs. We offered crisis management and emergency counselling. The cases of extreme mental anguish and ongoing and untreated medical issues that I saw every day became extremely overwhelming and difficult to cope with. In my daily work, I held a lot of hands, I gave a lot of hugs, I dried a lot of tears, and I offered humanity, friendship, compassion and respect. Sometimes the only thing you could do was be there as emotional support and a distraction from the daily trauma they are experiencing and reliving. Listening to music, doing art therapy, walking on the beach, sharing photos and stories of families and pets, or closing our eyes and imagining we were in far-off places seemed to help for a little while, but never for very long. The clients knew there was very little we could do to change their day-to-day life, but appreciated being treated with dignity and humanity, and knew that at least to us they were absolutely first priority and were respected, loved and accepted. There was one question I was asked a lot by children and adults I was working with. The first time a child, 7 years old, asked me, "Why do the Australians hate us so much?" My heart broke into 1,000 pieces and I struggled to not break down in tears. All I could say to her was, "They don't know you like I do, and if they did, they would love you just as much." before reminding her that there are many, many people in Australia, like all of you here, that do love her and want her to come to Australia and are looking forward to meeting her. After a couple of years, I realised that my family were also suffering from my decision to remain in my position, and that the work I was doing, whilst valuable and necessary, was bringing me under. After a lot of soul searching, I realised it was time for me to leave. I feel immense guilt and sorrow at leaving my friends behind to return to my privileged life, but continue to stay in touch with them and support them in any way I can. I'm thrilled that a very small number of them have left Manus and Nauru to start their new lives in America, and one who is settling into life in Norway sends me happy photos showing me he is slowly recovering and is finally learning to live as a free, beautiful young man and gaining confidence. Unfortunately though, these people are still in the minority, and the majority still remain in a hopeless and terrifying situation. The day I left Nauru for the last time, I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning sobbing. I couldn't get back to sleep and I couldn't stop crying. So as you do these days, I turned to Facebook. And this is what I wrote to my family and friends, and I'd like to share it with you if I can. Today, I'm leaving Nauru for the last time and bringing to a close over 2 years of working with men, women and children in offshore detention, both here and in PNG. The last 2 years have been an incredible, life-changing experience for me, and one that I will carry with me for the rest of my life. The refugees and asylum seekers I've had the privilege to work with have shown so much resilience, kindness and generosity of spirit that I am humbled by them. To those people in the community who have doubts about opening our homes to these people, immigrants, queue jumpers, boat people, country shoppers, illegals or any other dehumanising labels the media has taught us, I would ask you to please do me and yourselves a favour. Step outside your comfort zone and talk to a refugee, an asylum seeker, a new Australian, etc. Share food with them, visit their home and make an effort to get to really know them. You will soon learn that contrary to what our governments and the media would like us to believe, there are so many more things about us that are the same than are different. I have so many mixed emotions today as I fly out and leave behind babies I have helped to bring into the world, children I have played with, mothers I have cried with, and men I've watched fall apart as they struggle to hold their broken families together under circumstances most of us luckily cannot imagine having to survive. I have genuine love for these people who have welcomed me into their homes and their lives and shared what little they have with me without question. I have met some amazing people along the way who work tirelessly to make life more bearable for refugees and asylum seekers, and I am constantly bowled over by my colleagues' skills, knowledge, ingenuity and passion. These people are amazing and it has been an honour to work with them. Thank you for allowing me to speak to you today, and thank you for gathering together and showing my friends on Manus and Nauru that we do love them and we do support them. This cruel policy is destroying lives and it must stop now. Please continue to fight for what is right. Let's celebrate our differences, embrace our similarities and not allow the Trumps and the Duttons of this world to stuff it up for the rest of us.